Okay, so you had the first experience of trying to do something and then it didn't work out. And then you kind of had almost the opposite experience of you if you were part of the team who were creating that project, then you probably had, the whole control of what's happening and what to do. Did you also have kind of the experience in between? So kind of being able to use all the things that you learned from those two very different experiences.
The project that I run right now, the department, the team that I run right now, is sort of a full court press of all of the things, all of that sort of spectrum. And so, to give some background on what I'm doing right now, the OSPO that I run is rather large, maybe 30 plus engineers that all contribute to upstream projects, by and large, not our own projects that we have built. And we don't stand to sell any of these products or get any money directly from these products. We don't sell things like that. So I should give a little background on G Research, which is a quantitative research firm, which essentially takes these tools, these open source data science, machine learning, AI tools, and applies them to the markets and tries to predict where the market's going to go and therefore is able to make money. And so G Research has the money making bit down. And to do that, they use a lot of open source tools. My team is this translation layer, this service organization for the company, that when the company needs a feature or a bug fixed or support around any of the open source ecosystems that it uses, it has a place to go to get that service and support and feature requests done. And so we started rather small with sort of a couple people focusing on infrastructural projects. OpenStack was one of them, and have broadened over the past 5 years to engage, as I say, all sorts of different tools in the data science, machine learning ecosystem. So and there are a few things that we have open sourced ourselves. There's one project that's in the CNCF now that we gave to the CNCF called Armada. There's another one called Fast Track ML, which I think is headed towards the AI Linux Foundation. And but by and large, we're actually just contributing to upstream projects. OpenStack is one of them, Kubernetes another one, but Spark and Arrow and Pandas and like all the pieces of data science today, and most of it is open source. And then also the infrastructure to support those workloads with OpenStack and Kubernetes, as you might expect. All of those pieces are things that my large ungainly team will contribute to outside of our walls. So that, I think that starts to get to what you were asking about. It's not just things that we have done, and we are now starting to engage those things successfully, and not just in my first experience being shamed and walking away with my tail between my legs. We now know how to engage the community. We do it politely. We don't come with huge big bang pull requests. We make our presence known and do things to curry goodwill and listen to the community and don't try and force our opinions on the community. Like all the things that we think of as being good citizens, we know how to do that now. So it's almost like I took all of the missteps of my youth and now have summed it up into an actual positive force for the company and for all of these other projects that we engage with.
Would it be fair to say that you act as that buffer between the developers that are inside of G Research that are just working on the algorithms to do the quant analysis, who need that feature, don't know how to describe it, don't know how to engage with that community, you provide that grease, if for lack of a better term, to create a frictionless environment where you get those features in. You can describe what you need in community terms. Have you had those kind of situations?
We have. I'm rushing to try and remember a really good example of that. For sure, that happens. Being the grease, the buffer between the internal organization and the external organization, a lot of OSPOs are created to enable the internal developers, first and foremost, to interface with open source themselves. And when I got to G Research, I realized I had to do it slightly differently. G Research was a very, very insular and security conscious company that is air gapped and has some real self-imposed challenges to working with open source. And the culture there was not one where I could have just walked in 5 years ago and said, hey, y'all, I'm here. We're all going to be open source engineers now. They would have just thrown me out the window. So we developed a different strategy, one where we did build this buffer, as you called it, one where there was a service organization that people could come to, and we could start building a good experience around open source. Eventually, we've been able to start engaging internal engineers to be able to contribute back out to open source, much like traditional OSPOs try and engage internal engineers. But that wasn't where we had to start. And as a result, we have this larger team that is that grease, as you described it aptly.